2, 1. Hey guys, welcome on into another episode of On Beat Off Script. So we've decided to make a decision where we're actually going to split off the singles and the albums. So this is going to be the album portion of our content. Our album portion coming out first, as opposed to our singles, as well as just kind of a little recap of what we kind of have been listening to over the last couple of weeks. So we're going to dive right into the albums. We got 3 albums that have come out in the last 2 weeks that we wanted to go over. One of them being Cowards by Squid, a British post-punk band. We kind of had to change gears. We were going to talk about the Lumineers, but somebody decided to have a surprise drop by the name of Drake, which, unless you have never turned on social media ever, has been a pretty popular name to be in discussion about for the last little bit, who dropped some sexy songs for you. Dollar signs for every S, by the way, with Party Next Door, and if you don't know who that is, welcome to the club, as well as Love and Hyperbole by Alicia Cara, who is a Canadian R&B pop artist as well. So
good Canadian content. We've got two albums that were good Canadian content. They weren't going to be, in case you're wondering. I know I picked the albums out. It wasn't going to be that until Drake decided to Drake things up around here, you know what I mean?
Do the Canadian national anthem before we start this?
Canada. Is that it? I don't know the rest.
That is, yeah. It
starts with "Oh Canada."
It does. You got the first 2 words correct. You nailed it there. This is a music podcast. We do talk about music, so that was still technically
nailed it.
Yeah,
I give it a 3.7.
That's entirely too high.
But we're going to start things off with Squid. Squid, I knew was going to be a little bit more of an out there take. For those of you who don't know who Squid is, which is probably most regular people, they're a British post-punk band. They came to the scene in 2016, and they've been, honestly, they've been busy putting out music. They have kind of, since their debut, Bright Green Field in 2020, they've been consistently really kind of putting out album after album for the last little bit. I really enjoyed Oh Monolith, which was their 2023 release that came out before this. So I was really excited to see where this goes. They really focus on just really kind of experimentally taking post-punk in different directions and using a lot of interesting sounds. They have a tendency to use kind of very plucky strings and kind of have just an inherent discomfort to them that I think works really cool depending on the story that they're trying to put across. And I thought that in Cowards, we're kind of going to go over what that story is and how that musicality really plays into it. They really did kind of want to focus in kind of a more dark and menacing direction on this album, as opposed to Oh Monolith, which Oh Monolith kind of had, again, a little bit more experimental, but kind of still had a little bit more positivity in the story, a little bit more kind of brighter outlook. This has portions of brighter outlook, but that goes away pretty quickly. It's pretty short-lived. It goes pretty aggressively back into some darker places, which again was the intention of the band. They really wanted to kind of touch on some interesting matter on that side of things. Before we kind of start going into the track by track, Mel, did you have anything that you wanted to discuss when it came to Squid?
At first, I didn't know how to feel when I first listened to it. I actually did a quick listen through, went back and listened to some of their other stuff because I've never heard of Squid before this. And I was just trying to figure out who they are as a band, I think, to try to understand why the fuck they made this album. I was I'm not getting it. And yeah, first listen, I was very undecided. Second listen, there are some high points for me, but it's still a little off-putting.
I think that's with intention.
Exactly.
I think that's kind of the important part.
I think so too. Yeah, I agree.
TipsyTune.
I liked a lot about this. The instrumentals were fun, unique. I felt like as we went through the album, each song was very different, and I think that's lost. It's still cohesive, but it was different, very, very different, and I appreciated that.
I know where he's going.
The context of the music was interesting, and the good kind of off-putting. The bad off-putting for me is every time the singer sung. I don't know his name. I kept thinking this guy is just the wrong guy because the band is so good behind him, and he is so not.
Welcome. This is kind of a welcome to post-punk.
Yeah.
In this experimental way, though, it really is. Because I'd be lying to you if I said that the vocals, I think with Squid, them being poorer, and maybe especially yourself, who you sing and you write music yourself, and you have an affinity towards pop music and all of that. Post-punk is almost kind of the intentional of trying to break that apart. And with that intention, I do actually think that it does pretty, like, they do really well at that. But again, if you don't like that, I can understand.
I do like that. I do like that. I think they did it bad. I don't know how to explain it. His voice was so jarring. It was just bad. There were points I was like, it seemed like that they found a singer pretending to be this, and he sounded wrong. It sounded wrong. And I just kept getting mad every time he would sing because the instrumentals were so fun. And like every time he'd pop in, I'm like, oh, it jarred me like on a level that I.
There were tracks where I thought he
found
sounded.
It unlistenable.
I thought there were There's a lot of artists that I listen to where they don't have good vocals. Like, they just sound like shit. And that's, like, their thing, and I love it. I find it endearing.
Pat the bunny.
Normally. Yeah, I was gonna say, literally, Pat the bunny. Like, he sounds like fucking
that.
shit. But, like, I love it. I'm here for it. Like, there were parts where, I was just like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, I hate it.
Again, and honestly, I think that's almost intentional. And we'll go through song by song, and you're going to kind of hear I think the story is a big part of why they go through that, because this is, and again, I'm not a big story person. I'm not a big listening for the story person. That's usually Mel's task. This was one where I couldn't stop writing about what the actual story was, because I thought the story that goes through this whole album was really, really interestingly constructed through each track, which is why there was also so many different styles in this of post-punk throughout the whole album. So we're gonna get into it. So I know that you said that things make you uncomfortable. We're gonna start things off with Crispy Skin. Let's play just
I love pork belly.
a little clip here, just so everybody knows what we're talking about.
Don't think they're talking about pork belly.
I don't either. Just to balance it out.
Go ahead.
I thought that this was such a cool concept for a song, but I thought it was entirely too long. It dragged on for me, and I was over it. Also, so like, this being the first time I've ever heard Squid going into this, I instantly hated his voice, so it was like a weird start for me. I was just like, oh my god, there's parts for me where I feel like he's trying to be Bob Dylan and enunciate like Bob Dylan, and he's trying to do this spoken word thing, and it's not working for me. However, I thought the end of this track was so fucking cool. I don't know, I'm assuming it was intentional, but there were these sound effects added in towards the outro that reminded me of like a saw cutting through bone, and I thought that was like so spot on. I mean, we're talking about cannibalism here, and it's like if you're like
It's not pork belly.
if you're chopping up like I thought that was such a cool take. And yeah, going off of what Garrett,
pork, I guess it could be.
but yeah, so like it was an interesting start. I loved the concept, loved the instrumental, loved the sound effects at the end. I did not like his voice in this one at all.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Tipsy. Say your words.
And this is saying a lot. I think this was his best vocal work on the album. And
Really? Oh.
I think it gets worse from here. It's probably my second favorite song on the album. It was too long. I do remember at the 4-minute mark, I was just like, this is still going. It's still happening. And it is a very low mood, get stoned to this freaking song vibe. And even if I was stoned, I think it would have been too long. I would have noticed, maybe hyper-fixated on it or something.
I was gonna say, actually, now I want to go back and be stoned as shit as I listen to
Yeah,
the
it
album,
might,
that
yeah.
sounds fun.
At least make the food taste better. The pork belly, that is.
It's one of those things. So this obviously it continued on with their very plucky strings that they're like pretty well known for, right? Which is
love the
it's a
strings.
lot of fun, but especially with that kind of atmospheric kind of dreamscape background to it. For me, this sounded very like Radiohead-esque, like Kid A style Radiohead, where again there's just that kind of generic discomfort. If you're not a fan of Radiohead style post-punk, that is like, this is right along that same line with, in my opinion, kind of a better story to go along with it. The vocals on something like Kid A are usually very sporadic, they're very small, and they're very, like I mentioned, very deconstructed. And this really felt very much in that same vein. So I really enjoyed this track, and I did really enjoy the vocals on it specifically, because this was kind of the basis for the story that we're about to go through. Not to quote our friend Perry, but the roller coaster of what the actual story is behind all of this, right? Mm-hmm. The bizarre horror sound effects, I think, added so much to me. Like, it really just, like, sets everything off when you have these really, like, sweet, plucky, again, shoegazy style strings kind of all the way through, with these horror sounds going on. It makes it sound like this kind of heavenly in distress kind of moment, right? Which really played into the satisfaction. We're talking about cannibalism, in case anybody who has not listened yet, please listen. They're talking about cannibalism on this one. And like, just the sheer bliss in what he's experiencing while it's so graphic and horror what they're actually doing. And that theme kind of continues to play out all the way out through the entirety of the album. And the horror playing out of that, like, kind of puts it into this perspective of, I'm leaving this situation worse as a person, but while I was in that situation, it was so beautiful and I enjoyed it so much. And this is where the story really just kind of begins for it.
Yeah, I mean, they waste no time just throwing us into it. It's just
when your first track is called Crispy
ride.
Skin, it's gonna be an uncomfortable album to go through. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else to say before we move on to Building 650?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're ramming home the uncomfortableness. I'm uncomfortable for a different reason. I just think he doesn't sound good. And I'm not uncomfortable because of the situation, like, that he's laying down and the creepiness in his voice. I'm uncomfortable because he doesn't sound fitting. And I think this is one of the better songs on the album, but I think we're going to see it fall apart here, going forward.
But I do think the importance in that is, what is the fitting sound to have for somebody eating a person?
Saw cutting through bone.
Well, like you were saying, the Radiohead vibe would work. it would work. It's just he's not. The singer's not doing it. The band is. Band is 100%. I think they sound great.
The intention of it just being a regular person, I think, is kind of the whole gist of it. Is just
not for music. I don't know. Maybe
no, it's perfect.
You want to make it.
You
want to make it a showpiece? Maybe it's fine. They want to make it like a Broadway play or something like that concept.
A Broadway play.
Yeah,
I think this whole thing is.
I don't think that's making it on Broadway, but
you could describe this as a concept album.
Oh, definitely.
Right? Which
I'm gonna look at it from a music point of view, and I just don't think the vocals are there. I think this is the best example on the entire album, besides one song, which I finally went, okay. It took a while, but we'll get there.
Well, moving on to Building 650, which just happens to be about another person who is a cannibal, a friend of the lead singers in Japan.
Frank's my friend.
Good old Frank. Let's hear what he has to say about Frank. Let's try unmuting myself. There we go.
A flame come out, his nose and mouth. A flame come out, almost anything. Those plastic foods on the windowsill. There is no taste, just an empty gaze.
I liked this one way more than Crispy Skin. He sounds better. I found the sound overall more enjoyable. I love the instrumentals picking up. I thought like the imagery to Tokyo was really well done with like the double gas like powering the town. Like the imagery in this one started to like really pick up for me. I liked it.
It was really, really big on this. I fully agree.
I like the instrumentals. I really do, and I'm glad they kind of drown him out a little bit. Yeah, I've got nothing bad to say about the instrumentals. They hit every time. So I loved the progression, all of that. It's good. The lyrics are actually fun. Like they are telling a good story. And I'm not gonna beat a dead horse with
this weird reminiscence of somebody else that he knew that enjoyed the same thing that he's enjoying. It's almost like he's taking the moment to reassure that what he just did was okay.
I love that it's like there's a murder sometimes, but he's a real nice guy. Like Frank's my friend. He's a real nice guy. Like kind of justifying his actions. It's so cool. Yeah.
and that's part of, for me, what makes the vocals work so well for it is because it's just a regular everyday person justifying what shouldn't be a regular everyday thing, but trying to treat it like it is. And I think that the vocals actually play better into that storytelling part of it because of how laissez-faire he is about his friend Frank killing people and eating them.
Yum.
In that order. I think it works so well for that specific purpose. Sonically, is it jarring? For sure. But that's also just kind of part of what the post-punk genre is. That's kind of what the intention of what this was. That's kind of the point. The lead singer is the character, and that character should be jarring to everybody. It should feel out of place compared to all of the thoughts that are going through their head about everything, which is the music.
I hear what you're saying. It didn't for me. It literally didn't. Like I want like what you're saying kind of makes sense. I just think he's bad. I think he's bad.
He's allowed to be bad.
I get that, but
he's a cannibal. Of course he's bad.
No, not bad as a person, bad at singing.
Yeah, but it's that like, too. Okay, so I guess so think about like the true crime world where people get upset with like actors, like attractive actors, like playing like Zac Efron was Ted Bundy and shit. Yeah. People get like mad because they're like glorifying these serial killers, and like I think if you were to have a better vocalist on here, it would almost be like glorifying it a little bit in a sense. But like there are parts where his vocals work for me, and there are parts that I fucking hate it. This track, I liked it.
Yeah,
It made sense to me.
I mean, I get the idea, like pulling someone off the street basically to sing this album. Like,
Yes.
Yeah, and like this.
that doesn't make good music. Like, I guess that's my whole point. Is it's like you got a really professional band, and they're like, who can sing out there? Oh, you think you can? Cool, you're our new lead singer.
You
and
need
that's
somebody to come in and play that on that discomfort though, and I think specifically what's making you
The
so upset
music
about
does
it is what the intention is. That is specifically what they intended to do.
If they wanted to make me think that their album sucks, then they did it. I think they nailed it. Then they did everything. I mean this. These instrumentals are banger, spot on, beautiful. Like there's so much going on.
Yes,
because
these are all the thoughts that are going on through this person's head. This
how are
is
you gonna
the beautiful scape that they're creating, but it's just
I
this
think you're
person.
painting a picture that isn't there. Like I hear
No,
what
the
you're
picture
saying,
is
but
intentionally there.
you're taking the bad part and being like they did that on purpose. And I don't think they did. I think he's trying to be this character, and it's not. I'm not buying it.
What you have there, Mel?
I was gonna say, like, it is all very intentional. I do think. I mean, I just don't. I think he just is a bad singer. Like, it's not his first. Like, it's not their first album.
I do
like,
want to
he's
listen
not,
to previous stuff.
Yeah, I had to go back because I just needed to understand them a little bit better. But their previous stuff sounds so different from this, though. It's hard to compare. Like, it's actually very hard to compare.
Well, then that's what I was going to look for. Is this kind of just what they are doing?
It's very, very different.
Yeah, they're fully, like, embracing this. But, yeah, like I said, there are parts where it works for me, and there are parts that it doesn't. The next song is actually, like, the next part is where his vocals really kind of fall apart for me, actually.
Yeah?
And, yeah.
Well, let's listen to
this field work split, yeah.
Yeah.
Blood on the Boulders, everybody.
Getting interviewed on the television, telling a story from his childhood.
And then this pickup.
About those eyes, about that laugh, about the skies overhead, and how the body bounced on horseback and then it worked.
Ah, I love that when it starts to pick up and like start to, because basically he just killed another person.
Yeah, I mean, it's doing such a good job of mimicking, like, a horror movie here. Like, it's like you're getting, like, that psycho, like, like, vibe going on, which I think is really cool. This is where he really starts to sound like Bob Dylan to me, like the God-fearing man. Like, the way he says, like, God-fearing man and enunciates on man. It's just, like, I don't know, his enunciation gets weird for me.
That's I mean, that's fair. Again, I mean, when it comes to post-punk, again, the instrumentals are mostly the focus. Like, again, there's Radiohead you can go through, you can listen to Kid A, you could write all of the lines on one sheet of paper. Like, there's not very much in terms of actual lyricism in through that. I think because, again, the story that it's telling is this is just kind of an internal conversation, a conversation with themselves really quick. I did actually want to play more of that sample. The clip just cuts out every once in a while for no reason.
And how they slept, and who they fucked,
The slides.
and what they ate, and how they killed. We wanna know.
And then it breaks out into chaos, which again is kind of that murder. It has to start off as kind of like a small conversation with themselves to it just turning into this yell, anger, frustration,
Slam
attack.
the drums. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like it kind of it builds up to that, like with exception. And when he starts off the track kind of talking about how everything's broken here in LA, and then you watch him slowly break entirely throughout the entirety of the track, I think that's kind of what makes the track, again, still a solid one, is the concept all the way throughout the whole track. But
Yeah, it's the mimicking of Bob Dylan that like throws me off so much. I like just don't want him to do that. I don't like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, and I don't have like a reason for not liking it. I just like it doesn't work for me. It feels like it's been done, and it feels like he's almost like I don't know.
I hear zero Bob Dylan in any of that. Bob
thing-
Dylan is such a weird pull apart.
It's the way
not even
he
close.
the way he enunciates. I wish I should have pulled up a track so I could have like compared it side by side. But it's the way he enunciates.
I will be the first person. I love Bob Dylan. I adore Bob Dylan. This is nothing like Bob Dylan.
Well, no, obviously the song as a whole is obviously
His
nothing.
voice is no, it's nowhere.
I wish I pulled up a track so I could compare, but I'm not gonna like go through Spotify right now and try to figure it out.
That's such a big stretch in my opinion. If you just don't like the way he enunciates something, that's fine. Bob Dylan is not who I would compare it to even a little bit.
I think he's trying to channel a little bit there.
I've got this image of the lead singer being like a cartoon nerd. And like he's trying to be post-punk like this, and it's like it seems like it's not them at all. I don't know why I get that vibe. It seems like you're playing the wrong character, and that's where I don't know. He loses me almost entirely every time he speaks. I say speaks. Too.
It might be just because you're a poppy,
I like tones.
Positive
I like
guy,
tones,
and I think that's, you know what I mean. And this is very much the exact opposite. This is never.
It's not my music. Even the instrumentals being good, it's not my music. That's
for sure. Right.
Yeah.
So like, I understand this does not play to your type of thing. For me, I think the vocals work so well with the genre and with what the concept is behind the album. So maybe we can put the vocals to rest as...
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Just not your cup of tea.
I think, like, I do like the horror feel, like that feeling is great. But yeah, it like when it comes down to it, like when you have a lead singer, you need them to step up. And
this is the step up. This is the step up.
I do think he is. Yeah, I do think
this is perfect for what the album is trying to convey, and that's the whole point behind it.
Yeah.
And
I'm not getting it.
There are bad vocalists out there of very good bands, and I think that's you know what I mean. Like I think that's something to like kind of keep in mind. Is there are a lot of lead vocalists out there that are just not good, but if it works with how everything else operates,
and it
that's
doesn't. That's where
for sure it does. Yeah. Oh, with post-punk,
that's where
this
we're wrong.
Is
that's
what
where we don't
post-punk
agree.
is.
Sometimes he is a little too jarring, and it takes me out of it.
It's like he's over here and the band's over there.
But also, jarring might be. I mean, the whole album matter.
No,
is
I mean,
jarring.
talent-wise,
Yeah.
like, there's a huge. I think that's just where it is. It's like that's the tough part.
But the talent that you're looking for, the talent that you're talking about, is not what post-punk bands want.
No,
I also don't think you can
names, but there is post-punk that's like good, and I enjoy. I like the vibe of it. This is they do so many things so well in this album, and it's just so not done well in one specific thing that it's actually throwing me off so much. And that's the part that
I think that's the intentional part of the vibe was that the character that is speaking.
I mean, listen, call it a risk then, and I don't think it paid off for me.
Oh,
but if it paid off for you, somebody that actually likes this style of music, then that's I'll
the
balance
intention.
That
yeah, absolutely. That moves into Fieldworks 1 though. After Blood on the Boulders, Fieldworks 1 had this really really pretty acoustic opening. And it kind of felt like this character again.
Wait, Fieldworks 2?
Fieldworks 1.
Oh, I thought we already talked.
Nope, we haven't talked about Fieldworks 1 yet.
No,
we just did Blood on the Boulders.
Oh, duh, I'm stupid. I'm here.
Yeah. Fieldworks 1, which had this really beautiful like acoustic opening to it, and like kind of feels like maybe this person is recovering a little bit and like kind of starting to get better and not want to eat people or kill people kind of like it felt very optimistic for a little bit. Seeing as how dark the last 3 tracks have been so far, this kind of felt like a little bit of a reprieve, but then it draws right into Fieldworks 2, which Fieldworks 2 starts to like bleed out with that clock ticking.
Fieldworks 2 is the peak of the album for me. That was my favorite track.
I'm
100%.
right there with you as well.
I also misspoke.
Wait,
Fieldworks
two or
1
one?
is the God-fearing man line that reminds me of Bob Dylan. I skipped over my Blood on the Boulders notes because I'm an idiot and hungover. But yeah, so I misspoke. Blood on the Boulders was not the Bob Dylan reminiscent thing for me.
Are we playing 1 or 2?
We're gonna play number 2. I skipped number 1 because number 1 and number 2, if you just played them together, it is
like
one song broken into 2. But
Yeah.
Fieldworks 2 was just
The
a
peak.
way better side of the song for myself, in my opinion, and like just the way that, because reminding himself that he's evil too, and all of that kind of stuff with that clock ticking, it starts to show. He almost got better for like a moment, and then that clock starts ticking, and he's like, "I'm a time bomb ready to kill people and eat them again." Like I'm just.
Love the imagery in the outro, like the I don't look in the lake, like he is so afraid to look at his own reflection. He can't sit with what he did anymore.
Good.
And I thought that was so cool. And yeah, for this to like really be, I felt like the whole album was building up to like this like self-reflection almost. And
I was wrong. I was gonna play Fieldworks 1 and actually all the way into Fieldworks 2 is what I was gonna do. This just like transition, right? This super positive, like really pretty, like I'm getting healthy, I'm getting better. What just starts to like break apart
So lost on me.
and right into the clock's
the
ticking.
clock, yeah.
And it's got like this uplifting melody to go with it.
It's like so gentle to start that it's so unexpected from what we've been listening to. Yeah.
And it just slowly starts to kind of like fall apart from there, because then you go into like, again, he's not looking in the lake, just kind of talking about like, I can't even look at my own reflection because I know I'm going to do it again now.
Yeah.
Like it's just a matter of time and trying to find it.
We
And
also
then it
have
falls-
like those screeching strings like leading into the chorus that I think is so like he's, I mean, I guess it's showing that he's about to fall apart again, but yeah, I thought the strings added so much to that.
Oh, 100%. No, it's just like these like really sharp back and forths and stuff like that with it. It just worked so well. I think that, again, that was the high point, because it's that one moment where you think maybe things are going to get better. And then they just almost instantaneously don't.
I like, listen, this is I remember when this part hit, we were listening to it in the car and it hit and I was like, okay. That's what I want to hear. Like that was the sound. That's when they finally like found each other. And it was where the vocals were almost taking the lead on that one. And it was a rare case of the vocals taking the lead. And probably, in my opinion, the only time the vocals took the lead the entire album. And it was good, and I liked it. It sounded good together. I think like I cannot say enough of how much the instrumentals use so many weird things, like in them, just random.
That do so
random, and it makes you eerie, and it's very good.
Calm and soothing at the same time. Like they do both somehow really, really interestingly. They somehow found a way to like kind of play on that line. Which is why, but again, this is kind of why I think that the vocals that you dislike so much is part of the character, because this is kind of when you should have liked them the most.
He sounds
worked
good.
there,
It's,
but
like this track shows that he can. I mean, it's still like that punk, like not polished vocals, but he can sing. Like he's doing it, and
But this part of the character, this is part of that character arc where you're supposed to like him the most, which is why I think it was with so much intention,
and why
that everything else
good.
you're saying sounds awful and fair.
I listen, like as a singer, I could never imagine singing poorly to make a point, I guess. And that's
I mean,
where
depending
I'm
on the
maybe
art,
lost.
depending on the art you're trying to make, like art
Yeah.
isn't always gonna make you feel good. They're definitely trying to make you
Just so
uncomfortable.
consistently doing it. Like, and
Yeah.
leaving one little spark of hope. Like, just so you know, I can do this.
Well,
I don't
because
know.
he's like holding on to a little bit of hope that maybe he isn't a terrible person, and maybe
If you want
he
to
doesn't have to keep eating people. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe there's
I
a
guess-
rehab for cannibals.
Yeah.
That's the part maybe I'm lost on. Is like, I need to like look at this as a story.
The story
And
is
not
really
music.
cool. Yeah,
This
the story-
really is the story. This like I said, I'm usually not the guy that catches this story when I'm listening to things.
It's shoved down your
Yeah.
throat, though. You can't.
This is
not,
impossible
yeah.
to not listen to the story.
Mm-hmm.
The story for this is specifically what makes this whole thing, and that's the one thing that I personally felt like I was missing from LS Dunes when we covered LS Dunes last week. Was I did not think the story justified the
Magic
things that I
baby.
didn't like about the musicality of it. In this case, I think the musicality part, because you're not wrong. Is it good vocals? No, it's not. I'm not denying you that at
No,
all.
yeah.
I'm not saying that they're good vocals. I'm saying that I believe that it's intentional, and it's
I get
because of
it.
that story.
Yeah.
And
I
it-
guess I'm just thinking it from a singer's point of view. Of I wouldn't want to do that 8 out of 9 tracks and then just do one thing where do it right once just to prove a point. And I guess I can see the artistic side of that, but like it didn't make me want to listen to this ever again. That's what I guess my point is. I'm not adding any of this.
I'm gonna get this on vinyl. So like straight up,
I
like,
got the vibe.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
You were
so
pre-selling
much.
this pretty hard.
I enjoy this so much because of that side of it though, and because I think especially experimentally like this does all of the things that an experimental band should be doing, right? Is
more
trying to
time-
do something outside of that box.
The more time I sit with the album, the more I like it.
I'm
It-
enjoying it the second listen through.
Because
better.
when I first listened to it, which is maybe what you experienced yesterday when because when I first listened to it, like I said, I was just like, I didn't hear the story. I wasn't paying close attention to the lyrics, and I was like, this is just, I don't understand what the fuck is going on. And then when I sat in it more, I started to appreciate it more. And now even you going through the clips right now I'm appreciating it even more. Like
I found some appreciation for the vocals in the story. Some. I'm gonna put that in quotes. Like maybe an asterisk next to it.
Here
too.
we go. So after Fieldworks 2, which kind of all of our favorite song, I think we are
Yeah,
all
easy.
kind of on the
Number
on the
one.
same part with
Not
that.
even
Then it goes
close.
into Cro-Magnon Man, and Cro-Magnon Man is, I personally think, his most jarring vocals of the whole album.
I agree, but I think it was so well balanced
Yeah.
that it didn't bother me like it did earlier in the album. Like it makes you uncomfortable, but there's also this prettiness that is balancing it so well, and
Yeah.
it works for me here.
The instruments are going crazy. You
Yeah.
can tell he's going crazy.
Yeah.
But it's still somehow like there's so much bliss in all of
Mm-hmm.
the things that he's doing. And I think that like Cro-Magnon Man, we'll play the clip here really quick for you guys.
I love it.
Like truthfully, the whole song is jarring.
Yeah.
Everything about that song is jarring, but it still has like this kind of inherent nature to it. Like everything else is just kind of taken its own control and it's all just operating at the same time. And then you have the female vocals, which are kind of like a second
best vocals on the album.
It's kind of, but it's kind of like a second. It's. I think it's designed to be like another voice in the head, because then they also separate out and they start saying different things at certain parts in the same track that split out, and they start kind of almost having multiple different conversations.
I didn't pick up on that, and that's
So what I
cool.
took this is you know what, like it's like taking something cute and putting it in a scary place. That's kind of what it felt like to me. It felt like you took an anime teddy bear and you put it in a horror scene, or you know, it's like what they do with children in horror movies. Like children are supposed to be, you know, nice, unless you're a parent. I guess you probably don't think the same way about your kids.
I would hope that parents
and you put them in a horror movie.
Wait, what?
Parents don't like their kids. Are you kidding me?
Parents
Stop
don't like
their
lying
kids.
to yourself.
Oh, yeah, like listen, if you're saying I really like my kid all the time, you are a liar. But my point is, like, that felt like they took a cute little anime teddy bear, and that was the thing. I see the second voice thing. Like that was the second voice. It felt like I don't belong here, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes.
I did like this song.
Brandito was like, "You're getting it."
I forgot about this song. I will say that.
I like,
but
this
I
song
do
a lot,
think we did listen this in succession, and I was at a pretty low point at this point. Like I was like, oh god, okay, but I liked this. I remember making a joke and being like, oh, cool vocals, but completely facetious on that. But I liked it. It was cute. It was funny, and it was a little. It was different. It is a weird twist, and that's why I love the uniqueness of this album. It evolves.
It really
evolve.
does. That's and again, that's part of why I think the intention behind it is more than somebody like yourself, again, who is a vocalist, will give it credit for, because you're like, I would never do that to myself. No. I think in the space that this album is, he's just like, I will do it for this piece of art.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm trying to break it down. You have to, this is like an entire thing. You have to listen to the whole album. There is no,
you cannot listen to one of these one off, or you will be
ever.
Like, what in the is this?
You can't skip it. So maybe that's where it's a vinyl buy, because you have to listen to it straight
front to
through.
back.
No shuffle, no skipping.
It's an experience,
You can't listen to one piece and be like, oh, I love that part of the movie. It's like watching just the Mulan fight. You gotta watch the whole movie. You gotta get to the build-up. So that I respect in this. And I really liked this. I felt kind of like I was going insane, too.
Yes.
Which was nice.
That's the point. The point.
Some of it hits. I'm not damning the whole album.
also, the one thing that I did want to say about Cro-Magnon Man is the way that it like ends out with the repeated like, I'll frame my life in just the bones I have left, where it's like, now that at the end of Cro-Magnon Man, now he's just Killer him.
Yeah.
The two voices, one of the voices won, and now he's just this person, which then goes into Cowards, which is the title track for the album, and
Polythene bags will never go away. Rust dogs and rats will never escape. If you said it could be better out, I probably won't believe you.
This for me was peak instrumentals. I thought the instrumentals were stunning.
Yeah.
Like, perfect. The only thing that disappointed me was him on the outro. I think he I don't know, he didn't, I feel like he's been giving so much and he just didn't give enough there. Like, it just kind of fell flat. Like, and I wanted this cool build up and we didn't get it.
I can understand on that one. I mean, there's a couple lines in here that I really liked, where it's like, it's always raining in the castle but never outside, which is obviously just him talking about his head.
Yeah.
It's always raining inside here, but it's never raining outside. Everything outside always seems sunny and whatnot. Why am I so dark up here? Like, what is wrong with me? And then like having like that kind of like distorted trumpet kind of
good.
coming
I
through,
loved that,
like just
yeah.
like helped add to that with the high vocals, with the la 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 la, and like the kind of off harmonies
Yeah.
through the whole thing was just so cool. And then it did close down into another breakdown like through the outro, and I don't disagree, where all he did to repeat was always something more, and like
Yeah.
I wanted something more out of that outro. Like
Exactly.
And I
you're
don't
building
think
up
that
this
was,
you're
like, a
losing your
message,
mind
yeah.
now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I
Um,
felt like we were building up to like this cool, peak there, and we didn't get it, and it just like, it left me wanting. But
The instrumentals, I agree, peak. And only because I felt like nostalgic listening to this. When it opened up, I immediately went back to PlayStation 1 playing Twisted Metal. Like, it felt like it would be right next to Rob Zombie, like, in one of those games. The vocals won't go there, but, like, if it was just the instrumentals and I was sitting there and I was Axel ramming into somebody and this was playing, it felt right. Like, it was beautiful, actually. Maybe there was one drawing part, but I think we'll focus on the instrumentals.
In
They
all
were
fairness, if you were thinking video game time, it's Showtime, which
I
is
was
the
gonna
next
say
track.
Showtime is straight Nintendo.
Showtime, which just has like these
different
video games
gaming.
to the point, like, and they like he even like ends everything out with "I just laugh," because now this murdering the murder is the Showtime. Now this is like a video game to them, and they use the instrumentals and that video game sound. He's doing this for entertainment purposes. This is just for enjoyability. And then the lights build up. Like it just starts to lose control a little bit. Like, I just think that was a really, really cool way to explain, like, again, it sounds toy boxy, it sounds fun, but because of how everything else was set up, if you were just listening to this straight up by itself, first of all, it sounds chaotic, it sounds like a mess, it sounds like nothing. But also, if you had just listened to, like, say, just Crispy Skin and then just this track, you would say, what happened here? It wouldn't make any sense,
No.
but
We made the journey.
it's completely lost all control, and now that Cro-Magnon man that was in his brain is just taking over. It is he is just a body, and a different person is controlling everything that they're doing. And like I said, that "I just laugh" is and they're enjoying being along for the ride.
Yeah.
You know what this reminded me of? This is the weirdest take, but Wreck-It Ralph, where she's the glitch and she starts like taking the games down, and that's kind of what the trumpets feel like in the background. Like it's just this weird glitch that's coming through while you're just trying to enjoy your peaceful time,
Which for them is murdering a bunch of people.
Well, yeah, bliss is bliss. Dexter was great. This is where I think the album did better, because I do think they let the instrumentals take the lead and pushed out this whininess.
Now, if you may say, you're right, it was the instrumentals, which was the background of the brain taking over the character.
I hear your story. I get you. Is it something that I would have done or listened to? No. But I get the art. It's just not art for me, you know? It's like there's a lot of singers out there that aren't for me, and this is
Squid is not for everybody. 100%.
I love calamari. I just don't like squid.
Well, if you ate this squid, you would be actually probably appreciating and understanding
I'd also probably be a cannibal.
the album a lot better.
Oh my god.
And then it finally all ends with "Well Met," "Fingers Through the Fence."
I loved the
Which
song.
I did too. Like, the idea of "Fingers Through the Fence" is him finally getting caught
and basically going to jail. The fingers are through the cage of a prison because that's the only place that they can control them. It has this like country twang sound to it. Like you can hear it sounds like every prison movie ever, and somehow they're all in like New Mexico. You know what I mean? Like it has that sound.
The Green Mile vibe.
Yeah, like it just it has that inherent instinct to it. And like you can hear the footsteps throughout the song, which sounds like a guard like patrolling the jail and whatnot. Like it just it kind of has that whole like run through. I'll play just a wee bit, and by that I'm gonna unmute and then I'm gonna press play. Like those Folsom City kind of horns, you know, those Folsom Blues horns.
All around me, and it's always changing. It's always changing from the backseat.
In a flash of red and blue, the future's perfect from the backseat. So fucking good. Yeah, like that is
I think there was more on this album than I liked than I thought I did. The only thing I have to say about this song is I do think this was amazing.
You hated his voice so much that you kept, like I felt like it was too distracting for you.
To be fair though, like Crispy Skin, I was like, okay, I can kind of divide. There's a few parts where I was a little off, and then there's just this he really like irritated me, and then he did. By the time you get to feel, because these songs are long too. We're only hearing clips of these. Yep. This song is 8 minutes and 15 seconds.
It really is. It is for sure long.
This and
at this
Crispy
point
Skin
was so ready for
were
this
the
to
longest. They weren't all that drawn out.
550, 546. They're up there.
Okay, maybe they're a little longer than I thought.
The good news is the ones I really like, I feel like, are the long ones, which is great. Minus Blood in the on the Boulders, but the rest of them, the ones I don't like, are the short ones, really. And you could take Fieldworks and make that one song if you want, and I like the back half of that. But this was just a very pretty, go off, like just walk off. Kind of thing.
It's kind of that like he's almost happier now that he's locked up finally because now he can't hurt anybody. He doesn't have to worry about Cro-Magnon Man taking over and him doing what he doesn't want to do anymore. And like when it just says like the just blues and reds repeating and stuff like that, it's so good. And like it's just this happy little melody to like close things out. Even though he's in prison, he's just like I would rather be here because out there I can't control myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's just such an awesome part of it.
This is like where the vocal inflection was actually upsetting me earlier. Like it was throwing me off. I loved the vocal inflection on this one. I loved like the whispered bridge. Like it, like there was there was a lot of good happening in the song. I was a big fan. And again, the imagery throughout was stunning and so well done. Like you understand where you are in their story at all times.
Yep.
Like, I hate and love that this song is 8 minutes, though, because it did feel like a walk-off, but he was walking slow.
It was taking its sweet time.
He was like, I'm leaving now.
And another thing in, like, what I think is intention with the album is he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. So it should probably take a little while. It's gonna be a long time.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of the mentality I think that's kind of there for it. So final concluding thoughts. Garrett, let's TipsyTune, let's get you to start us off here, buddy.
You have sold me on this being an art piece constructed of music. To twitch on that a little bit, but it was as a piece of art, I do think they accomplished it. Like I said, this isn't one where you can add a song to your playlist. There isn't a single song here. Maybe Crispy Skin, if you just really like the opening of this. It's like watching the beginning of a movie and not finishing it, but you could do that. Like, you could add it in there and enjoy it. Otherwise, you have to go through this evolution the whole way through. And the instrumentals so different. I'm thinking like Panic at the Disco, how they can do so many different things. That's been running through my head. Very obviously different band, very different styles, but it did so many things so well. So many things so well, like instrumentally, just beautiful. Even that like weird 8-bit thing, I didn't expect. I was like, "What the hell is this? We play on Nintendo." It was good. It was a good story. Just leave it at that. Leave it at that.
Don't get me wrong. I'm also the same person that hated Ellis Dune's vocals 2 weeks ago. Like, and specifically, like, despised his voice.
You hated, like, you couldn't get past that. Yeah.
So I do understand just the vocals being something that can ruin something.
It did. And that's where it is. Like, I'm going to score this a little higher than I think you think I'm going to score it for, but it's purely because of the instrumentals and how much respect I have for the work they put into this and the just unhingedness that is going on in this album that they portray. If I could take the vocals out, this would be a pretty damn good album for me. The vocals are going to tear it down a little bit for me.
Yeah, that's understandable. Mel.
What's your rating? Or our rating?
Oh, you want me to score it right now?
I mean, go for it. Yeah.
I'm gonna put it as 6-1.
That is higher than I thought you were gonna give it.
Yeah, I just can't give it in the 50s because it like I said, instrumentally, it is beautiful. Beautiful. Like it is very, very good. It's just those vocals. If they could fix up to fine tune a few of those things, and I know what you're saying with they did it on purpose. I think they could have done it on purpose with a better voice. You know what I mean? And it would have been a better sound. So, and we're going to disagree on it.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if it would have. I
I
genuinely don't think if you clean that so much up, if you clean that too much, it would have sounded false.
I just think he sounds nasally and poor.
It's like The Weeknd talking about how he's losing his mind. It just doesn't sound right coming from him. It can't. There's no way that it will work. Is he a better vocalist? For sure. It just won't work. Right?
Yeah, this is not. I will point out that this is not my music. It isn't. I don't see a part in my life where this will be my music. I respect the art that went into it.
We'll work on it. I'll find a couple of intro to post punk records for you.
It's hard to say that post punk's not my music because I do. There's some out there.
But post punk's also such a loose term.
Yeah,
there's so many different ways that it goes.
Yeah.
It's it's like singer-songwriter. What do you mean by singer-songwriter?
To be fair,
almost all of these have a singer, and the song was written.
Every time you try to like say this is this, like look at Imagine Dragons. Someone called them like what was it, soft rock, and they're like we're whatever we want to be. We're Imagine Dragons, or it's like once you try to define someone, they're like screw you. Like we're not that at all. We're this, and this is still this, but it's different, and there's just so many subgenres.
You're trying to force a Mobius strip into a shape, and it just doesn't work that way. Yeah. It's just not how it works.
So maybe they twisted this away that I didn't like, that you liked, but it 100%. Fits the mold either way.
Mel,
I'm actually starting to love it even more than that. Like I was kind of like like there are high points for me, but there are a lot of low points for me, and I actually just like sitting in it longer, I think I love it more. I need to listen to it again now. Like I
do need multiple listens. That's how you operate.
I need to sit in it again with like a fresh head, and I don't know. I think I have to score it an 8 actually now. I have to sit in it longer. I think it jumped up for me. Like literally during this entire conversation as we were going through it, I was like, wait a second, no. Wait, actually, yeah.
Brandito did sell this hard, I will say that.
Well, but he's not. The story,
I respect the passion for it.
The story was always there, and I always appreciated it, and I always loved the instrumentals. I thought the instrumentals throughout were literally stunning, flawless, like beautiful. And again, the only thing that wasn't sitting well with me is his voice, but it's grown on me now, actually, maybe a little bit. I don't know. I have to sit in it again.
I won't be sitting in it again.
No, I'll listen to it on my own time. I won't force you to listen to it again. But I actually think I like it a lot more than I did this morning.
So what? And if
I
I
would
may
agree with
ask,
that
what were you
statement.
up this morning?
I still, like, I would say 6'8". Like, I still, like, respected it, but I didn't think I was ever going to listen to it again. So I would have put it, like, 6'8", 7'2", like, straddling
I was at like 5'9".
7.
You got like 2 points from me. 0.2 points.
I respect it so much more now. It shot up for me.
Once you start to put all of those puzzle
Yeah.
pieces together, I do think it makes a big difference. Like, for me, like, I thought it was a really, really creative expression of a story that's been done before. At the end of the day, how we had this story of a person going crazy done in music concepts before.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just thought this one, between the instrumentals and the lighter vocal side of things, I feel like it did it so creatively and just so perfectly in my brain. I really like that they were okay with experimenting and trying completely different ways to tell a story that's been told before. It's honestly, this has been their most complete album, but also their most conceptual so far as well. So other Squid, there is a good chance that you could listen to a couple of the tracks as one-offs and still find a lot of appreciation in them. Oh, Monolith, like, specifically, I think that you would. This one is a front to back. You do need to sit down and you do need to listen to this from the beginning to be able to understand the whole concept of everything that's going through. A one-off track of this is going to sound like a monstrosity, and you're going to be very confused where and why it even is in existence. It is very much a full story from beginning to end. For me, personally, this was a 9.3.
Not surprised.
This
You
was
love this.
my
I'm not
favorite album
surprised.
we've listened to so
Yeah.
far.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
This is it was just so well put together, and the instrumentation is just on another level. And
I'm telling you, I would be there. I would be there with you. The vocals I cannot get past. The instrumentals are literally legendary. They're very good.
Yeah.
Like, very fun. The
You
way
can't-
that they piece some things together using random noises included with that, like, it was great. And as an album, it does go really good front to back, but
you'll never get over the vocals. That's okay.
you know.
It's okay. That
Try
is-
not to
that
beat
is
a dead
completely
horse.
fair.
Yeah, because and I'm telling you, I couldn't give it a 5 because the instrumentals were that good. I felt like I'd be disrespecting them.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it because it was so well done, so well done.
Yeah.
And I liked it a lot more than I thought I did. I was at like the 4 out of 9 mark on the songs. So,
Yeah.
overall, even including the vocals.
3, 2, 1.